Hey guys, I'm Ryan, and on this episode of Baking with Ryan, I'm making a gravity-defying M&M cake. This cake is 2 tiers tall, and it looks like M&Ms are cascading all the way down the side of the cake. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. The ingredients you'll need to make the cake are 6 chocolate cakes, 3 8-inch chocolate cakes, and 3 6-inch chocolate cakes. You'll also need vanilla buttercream, M&Ms, a packet of M&Ms, and straws. In addition, you'll need some wooden sticks. The ones that I used are for roasting marshmallows. I forgot to mention that you'll also need some chocolate candy melts. Before assembling the cake, you'll need to level all of the layers. I like to do this using a cake leveler, but you could also do it using a serrated knife. Now it's time to assemble your cake. Begin by spreading some vanilla buttercream on top of the cake board. Then place on the first chocolate cake. This is one of the 8-inch cakes. Here's a tip for filling your cakes. Use an ice cream scoop to measure out the same amount of buttercream to go between every layer. On this cake, I decided to go with 3 scoops. The amount of frosting is totally up to you. If you wanted, you could even do 5 scoops. All that matters is that the same amount of frosting is used between every layer. Then place on the second 8-inch cake and repeat the process. Now place on the third 8-inch cake upside down. The reason I do this is to give the cake perfectly sharp edges. Spread on some more buttercream on top of the cake. The tool that I've been using so far is called an offset spatula. This is my #1 tool that I use for every cake that I make. After that, insert 4 straws. Start off by pushing the straw all the way down to the bottom and then cut off the top and press it back down. The straws are acting as supports. They do the exact same thing that a dowel does. Before you assemble the next tier, spread some more frosting on top of the straws and spread it out with an offset spatula. It's time to assemble the top tier. Begin by placing down a 6-inch cake. Then use an ice cream scoop to measure out more buttercream. Since the top tier of the cake is smaller, I only use 2 scoops of buttercream between each layer. Place on the second 6-inch cake layer and scoop on the same amount of frosting that you used for the last layer. Just like the first tier, place on the final cake upside down. After that, it's time for the crumb coat. Begin by scooping a lot of buttercream on top of the cake. Then spread out all of the buttercream using an offset spatula. When the frosting starts hanging over the sides of the cake, frost the sides. Once the top tier is covered in frosting, begin frosting the bottom tier. You'll also want to frost the rim between the 2 cakes. I like doing this using a small offset spatula. Once the entire cake is covered in frosting, use a bench scraper to smooth out the frosting. Once you've done the crumb coat, place the cake in the fridge for 20 minutes or until it's firm to the touch. Now do the same thing as you did for the crumb coat for 1 more coat of buttercream. Feel free to use a lot of frosting here. It's much easier to frost a cake when you're taking away frosting. Just like before, I'm using a bench scraper to make the frosting even smoother. After a lot of smoothing, your cake should look like this. Let's move on to the next step. It's time to turn this regular cake into an anti-gravity cake. Begin by inserting the wooden stick all the way down to the bottom of the cake. For the next step, you'll need some melted chocolate candy melts. Using a small unused paintbrush, brush some melted candy melts on the bottom of the stick. Then quickly place 4 M&Ms around the perimeter of the stick. Be sure to place them down before the chocolate hardens. While those M&Ms are drying, make an outline of where the rest of the M&Ms are going to cascade down the sides of the cake. Once you've made the outline, fill it in with M&Ms. When you're done, there should be no white showing. Next, spread a thick layer of frosting under where the M&Ms are. Then, place M&Ms all over the frosting. It's time for the anti-gravity part. We're just repeating the process that we did for the first layer. Start off by brushing some candy melts on the stick. Then, place on 4 M&Ms. Be sure to place down the M&Ms firmly so they don't fall off. Before placing on another 4 M&Ms, let the previous M&Ms dry for 2 minutes. Repeat the process until there's only 1 inch left at the top of the stick. Then, brush some more chocolate on the tip of the stick. For the next step, you'll need some cotton balls. Start off by cutting the top right corner of the M&M packet. Then pour out all of the M&Ms into a separate container. After that, fill up the M&M bag with cotton balls. This will give the appearance that the M&M bag is full. All that's left now is to place the M&M bag on the wooden stick. The cotton balls will hold the stick in place. And there you go, the cake is complete. All that's left now is to cut into it. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe.